source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at gearwebsites.com.
So putting this up. Oh yeah, I guess it's just not bringing up any camera, which is fine. So we'll bring this up, and we're gonna be taking a look at cameras today, trying a new project here. Trying a new project here where we're looking at different things. Last week we looked at laptops, our friend Patriot, and hopefully we offered some useful advice there. Today we're going to be taking a look at cameras, so we're going to go over to our Amazon store and just type in camera. And we'll start off with some of the stuff that we've done with cameras, but of course this is a live show, so if anybody's got any ideas, questions, suggestions, that kind of thing, feel free to let me know. I'm going to put this way up here. Does this still sound okay if I do this? You know, Gear reporters out there, welcome. Chicago Mike, welcome. And Snob joining us. So, yeah, if we've got anything specific, last week we were kind of talking about a laptop for someone who's going to college this year or this time. I'm thinking, since we don't have a specific topic, I'm going to just go towards content creators because that's what I am and that's what most people I know do. So if there's something though specific, maybe you want to create archival stuff for the family, you want to do stuff for photography for printing or for publication, that could be a little bit more specific. If you're creating video for some kind of project like a film, you know, there's all kinds of different ways to go with cameras. Cameras are kind of cool. I think they're a neat invention. Looking back at them, it all kind of started with a bet, right? Like somebody said, well, I mean, cameras happened, but video cameras happened. Hollywood all started from a bet on whether or not horses took all their feet off the ground at the same time. And somebody decided to take a whole bunch of cameras and put them in a row with tripwires. And as the horse ran by, all these cameras would fire off. And when they put that together, it was essentially a film strip. And that's how movies were created. And that happened in California. That's where Hollywood came from. And cameras evolved since then. And, you know, we've got all kinds of interesting things. And there's the action cameras, there's the 360 cameras, there's phones that are amazing cameras, and more. So we'll dig into some of that stuff today, like say kind of guided by what people are talking about here. So Snob is saying, I'm thinking about getting an Osmo Pocket 3. So let's find out what that is first. I don't have that in my thing, so we'll just go to Amazon for that. Osmo, which one did you say? Osmo Pocket 3? DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Oh, dude, what's his face is selling one of them right now. So go check out the Gizzards' thing, and Steven is selling one of those. So I seen somebody use one at SHOT Show once, and it's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and get y'all a link. How do I get the link? Get a link up here, right? This is how we get links for Amazon. We get a little thing called the Stripe up there. I think we're allowed to talk about that. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's an ad. It's an ad. You're gonna get a chunk of that money if you buy one. But yeah, these things are kind of neat because it's the same camera as a drone, and you're holding the battery and the little screen, I guess, and then you're pointing it at stuff. It just seems so fragile to me. That's my main thing. So if I don't know what I would use it for, where I wouldn't break it.
Osmo Pocket 3 features a new 2-inch.
So then we can look over here, reflex, and $600, $700. That's a lot of money for a video. I guess depending on your what you're looking for and how you want to film. I guess the deal here is it's stabilized, so you can, you know, be doing stuff or not be paying attention, and that thing will stabilize. I don't know what this remote control does. Maybe a microphone. So it's probably pretty fancy. DJI does pretty good cameras. But $700? By the time you pay for it and get it shipped and everything, I'll bet you it's $700. A protection plan? Do people get protection plans on stuff? Do you get it from Amazon? Do you use a different type of thing, or how do you do that? I personally don't end up getting protection plans. I did when I was young, and I just never needed them, so I quit doing it probably in my 30s, and I haven't done it since, and I don't think I'm regretting it. I don't break stuff that often, especially expensive stuff. I'm usually pretty worried about it. Let's see. Mike White's jumping in. Welcome. And I'm thinking about a Polaroid for SHOT Show. Oh, well, there's a Polaroid on sale right now, but they haven't gone away yet. They're still out there, and you can still get film for them. They're a different form factor than the old days. They're a little smaller. I've seen this type that kicks out the little postage stamp looking thing, and they tried passing that off on us when we were kids, and it's bullshit. Like nobody wants a tiny little picture. I mean, if you need them for a passport or something, but these cameras aren't going to work for that. But $59, I guess somehow they decided that's the price point. Here's a normal one for $80, so like the normal size, I should say. Picture. I don't know, is it worth $80? You're probably kidding or whatever, but it is a thing, and it would be, what do you call it, like unique or whatever. Seven videos. Is it nostalgic? I don't know. I have a Polaroid right now, but I have an old one, not like this old. I had one like this, the old-fashioned one. But I have a one probably from the 90s or something. It looks more like this. And, I don't know. I've thought about getting film for it, but I'm probably just going to get rid of it. I had one when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody else had one, but they were okay. Back in the days before digital, they were pretty cool. But I was into developing film, slide film, because you could do that just wherever. So I have a ton of slides. I really like taking pictures, and I would take them slides. And I think the slide film was also more forgiving, wasn't it? Wasn't it a more one-size-fits-all film than camera film, a regular picture film? But I did have a Polaroid, and I'd say I probably only bought film for it like 4 times. I used it a few times, and then never used it much. Let's see. I'll throw a link up here for this one, though, because this one is 25% off for the holidays. Throw another link out there. And I'll probably also drop this one into my content creator list. So I don't know if you all use the lists over there, but I got a bunch of lists. And it helps you keep track of stuff if you're, I don't know, shopping, or if you're kind of debating or whisper comparison shopping, content creation gear. But if you're doing anything else, like doing any kind of project where you want to refer to products on Amazon, those lists are free, and it's just I think you just click on it the first time, and it'll like create your first one, and then once they're there, it's just a drop down. You can have as many as you want. They definitely make it easy if you're going to ever refer to anything to go back and get them. That's the Polaroid Go. I don't know, $80. You could probably get, like it says, you could get one of these cheaper ones. Let's go sort by low to high. If they made like a really subtle one, but they don't. It's kind of interesting, but I think those are vintage. I don't know why it's, I guess because these have no price. It's showing me these first. That's a Polaroid? No, it's just a Polaroid brand. So it looks like this one is they can't be the cheapest because the other one was cheaper. They're not doing good on their sort by price at all. So let's not keep going. They're probably kidding anyway. But it would be a thing, to take selfies with a Polaroid. You could always digitally scan them, take a digital picture of the thing after. But it would be a thing. People would remember, the pictures with the Polaroid. There's probably, is there? I'll just call them Polaroid film or picture display. Because I'll bet you there's some sort of way that you can put them into slots or something. Like, look here, for $7, you can get these little baggies on a string, or you could just go to the store and buy some baggies and put them on a string. So that's one way. In the hotel room or your B&B or whatever, you could, have those pictures. They put them on rope lights. It's actually pretty smart because then they're lit up right away. And they make these little plastic acrylic things. I figured there was a lot of ways to display these things because that's sort of the factor is that you might write on there with a Sharpie. I was going to say you could have everybody sign their picture. You take a picture with everybody on a Polaroid and you'd have them sign it. But I did that one year with the book when I was, what was it, 3 years ago? When I was going around with the book and having everybody sign the cartoons or whatever. And then about halfway through it, somebody was like, well, I don't want to put my real signature on here. Then somebody will forge it. And I was like, oh, shit. So it kind of put a big turd on my idea of having everybody's signature. So I don't know what your decisions are on that, but maybe have them put something like the name of their channel or something so that it's not their actual signature. Actually, that's probably the way to do it. Have them write the name of their product, their projects on there. Anyway, the Polaroids could be interesting. He never came back, so he probably was just kidding. Let's see. Snob is saying that Chris and Sarge both have that. I don't know why Sarge would have it unless he just likes it, but I could see why Chris would have it. He does a lot of going out to the range and stuff, and maybe giving that thing to people that don't know what they're doing is more forgiving or whatever. Gizzard saying I have an Instamax camera, haven't used it that much. What's an Instamax? Can I copy and paste off here? At least I can copy off of here. So an Instamax, oh, that's one of these Fujifilm ones. So I know why you don't use it a lot, because it makes passport photos. Nobody wants those. This would be neat. I mean, if it was a small camera and it kicked out a small picture, all right, but it isn't. It's the same size as an old-fashioned camera, 35mm film camera. And it's going to make vertical pictures right off the bat. Somebody needs to be kicked in the knees for making that. Like, why would you make a camera that's only vertical? Actually, all of these look like that. That's weird. That's weird. So I can understand why Gizzard doesn't use it. Again, it would be good every once in a while, like at a party or at like Thanksgiving. Actually, it would be a good idea to have an instant camera, just because it's offline. And you have a lot of stories. You got all those Thanksgiving people hanging around. Some of them are bound to be old, and they could talk about the olden days or whatever. It'd be kind of neat. Anyway, so with that being said, how do I get back to my stuff? I guess I gotta just go backwards a bunch of times. I don't have a link just to my store anywhere. Too bad you can't just turn it sideways. Yeah. Then all the writing is wrong. You wouldn't know which button you're pushing or anything. Let's see. So that was that one that Snob was thinking about. They got to make a cheaper version of this. The Steven's selling a cheaper version of this, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the 2. Anyway, all that being said, I don't know if I would go for that one because of the fragileness of it. So I'm going to go into my stuff again and click enter. And in the description of this video, which I don't think I can bring up on this system easily, I included content creation cameras. And those can vary because people do all kinds of different content. I have a section or a list here somewhere of just good cameras, because I hang out with people like Snob that's buying $700 cameras and other people that have really expensive cameras. So I just listen to them and put some of those cameras in here. I was thinking about buying one of these Canons, I think, or some kind of an SLR digital camera. So I do have some of these in here from having conversations with like barbecue and stuff with people who know about cameras. But I don't have that kind of money, so I'm not doing it. Like these things are $1,000 or more. But there's a way to make money with those kind of cameras, and I would like to stick my toe into that and see if it could happen. But in addition to the just fancy SLR cameras, you've got your drones. I think I have one drone in here. This is actually an old drone. At the time when I built this list, this was still a pretty good one. And then the instant, or whatever they called, the action cameras. and those are pretty neat. I just recently got a good one, so haven't used it yet, but I've been playing with it a little bit. There's definitely a lot of accessories for both of these kind of cameras. But since nobody's saying anything, I'm going to click on this drone because this is one that I've been curious about. So this one is a lightweight drone with a gimbal, and the main thing is it's got this GPS system or the GPS type of deal where you put it somewhere and it just sits there. And that is something that the toys can't do. And when you can put a drone with a gimbal, so it can do image stabilization, when you can just sit it somewhere and have it point either down or across or whatever, you really do have just a camera that you can put anywhere. That's really neat. And this particular one comes with a controller that has a built-in screen. And if you have or haven't used a drone before, let me know. But I think having a phone attached to the controllers is kind of cool. It was cool years ago, but compared to this, where the screen is just built in, you don't have to deal with the phone falling off. Or every time I put my phones into my drones, it turns my phones off or it turns the volume up or something stupid. It's always squishing a button. So it's just always a pain, and then the phone will fall out half the time. I don't have great drones, but this controller really seems cool. So for $420, really like that one. And this was they call the RC model because it comes with that controller. If you go over and get the $100 less, you get it with the regular controller where you do have to use a phone with it. And then there's this Flymore model, which comes with that controller and 2 batteries. How can that be cheaper? It is cheaper. What am I missing here? Isn't this cheaper? This says $369 and this says $429. Dang it. $369, lowest price in 3 days. What do you think? So I'm going to go quickly look and see if we got paid yet. I don't think we did we? I don't know. You've never really talked about drones. Nah, we didn't get paid yet. Do you got any drones over there in the Gear Report universe? Gear Report is saying not having to use a phone is really nice. I can only imagine. I mean, I've never. The only time I've never used a phone is when I just don't use a phone and I just use the remote controls. I've only flown an old. I've seen people flown. I don't even think I've ever flown a DJI. I owned one for a while and I charged the batteries on it, and that's all I ever did. And I had to sell it. I ran out of money and had to sell it as soon as I bought it. So I've only seen people fly DJIs and they look amazing. And the people that flew them didn't even know what they were doing, and the thing came out with amazing footage. I mean, they were new. They weren't experts yet, and it still came out really good because all the stabilization and stuff. But man, I really like this one here. Somebody wants to throw a $370, well, maybe a $400 super chat in here because they're going to take some of it. Then I will definitely buy this live. We'll buy it live with a $400 super chat. Let's see. Gear Report saying this, I want one with a good humble in camera. Well, having a drone that's humble is probably a good idea. So I would probably agree with that one. And then a camera, I agree. I really want one with a camera that's decent. I have Pink gave me one that was like definitely decent, but it didn't have. What did it have? I didn't have a phone that could keep up with it, so my phones were always on like a lag and a delay, and it was because I had old phones. So it was my bad, and the drone was fairly decent. Like it was very decent at the time, and I really enjoyed flying that one. I connected it to my friend's good phones, and then one time I took it up. The next time I took it up, it tried to connect with his good phone because he was driving towards me, and it took off towards him and not listening to me, and it smashed into a sign and I destroyed it. But that one was the closest I had to a decent, like good drone, and I was learning on it, so I beat it up a lot and never really learned how to fly it good because I also never. It wasn't either there wasn't strong enough or I didn't know how to get good wind because I was always fighting the wind, and I might have been flying it too high of winds. I just don't know. But Yeah, drone's been bothering me. I like a drone a lot. I would say that if I could do a poll, which I can't do easily through here, if I could do a poll, I would put a poll question out there. How how important are these cameras? Or like in what order would you get the cameras? So I guess that's not really a poll. So I'll put a quiz out there or a survey out there. That's the right word. What what order do you put cameras? You figure you've got your phones, you've got your action cameras, you've got your 360 cameras, which I consider different than a action camera, and then you've got your drones, and then you've got, do you call that thing on a gimbal like an action camera? I don't think so. So I think you'd have to call it gimbal camera, something separate, and then your SLRs. I don't think you need all of them for sure. Like I'm not even interested in all of them, but or if I do, I would have like one of each. I don't need like multiples of all these things, but some of them I would definitely like multiples of. I have no problem owning a lot of drones. I would like to have drones that are inexpensive, that are decent to throw over a lake or something, where if I lose it, it's not the worst thing in the world. And then my good drone for when it's safe and I'm not going to hurt the drone for doing good stuff. And then like the action cameras, I now have a very old one, and then I have some clones, and I have a good one. So the good one I can use for stuff, and then the old one I can use for other stuff, and then those third party like rip-off ones, now I can use those all over the place. Like I won't even care because I have a good one to use for good stuff. But then like an SLR, I could totally see having multiple SLRs, mainly because you can't change lenses that fast. So once you got a body or two, or once you have a few lenses, it's worth throwing a camera body behind some of your good lenses just so you don't have to swap them all the time. At least that would be my philosophy on it. All right, so that's the good camera gear. And since nobody's really saying nothing right now, I'm going to keep going with the other things I had in there. So I had cameras for hunters, and I think this would work for content creators as well. But I'm thinking as a hunter, of course, you got your game cameras where you can put them out, strap them to a tree, strap them to a fence, put them on the front of your vehicle or something, and then they sit there, long time batteries, and some of them are Wi-Fi and even cell phone services. So you can have them out there, and they'll transmit whenever something happens, and then the film of it if you want, but alerts to let you know stuff is out there. And these can be pretty handy if you're trying to watch like a gate or a driveway or salt lick or garbage bait or whatever your stuff you're putting out there. Or maybe just you got garbage cans and you're trying to figure out who's messing with your garbage cans at night. And you put these things out. They sit there not doing anything until motion sets them off, and then they'll record, and for the length of time you tell it. So they're pretty handy, and they run off of solar power, so you can put them pretty much anywhere, and they'll just sit. And of course, if you have ones that are wireless, you don't even have to walk over to them. You just pull the videos off of them. I do that with my bird feeders. These are pretty much bird feeders without the bird seed all on them. And there's lots of different models out there. I threw a couple that have sales right now at the top of our list here. But in addition to something like a game camera for preparing for hunting, you've got your taking pictures and archiving the trip, where I put that DJI in here because it's less expensive. It's the $300 one. Again, walking through the woods or whatever on a hunt, I could totally see this gimbal camera being useful. And then the 360, the actual 360, is a camera that can look all over the place all at once. So it's looking up, down, left, right, forward, backward, everything except for where you're holding the camera itself. And these are really neat. You can pull the video off of them, pull stills off of them, and since they see everything, you could be out hunting totally focused on something that's going on in front of you and then not realize that a coyote just walked behind you or something. And the 360 is going to record all that. And if you ever felt like going back and watching it all, it's kind of like having eyes in the back of your head and up in the air and down at the ground all at the same time. Really neat. And I think that could add to either your archive or your description of your hunt, so many different ways. I probably should have put a drone in here because obviously probably not when you're actually hunting, but either before or after, having a drone to give you some idea of what the terrain was like or the vertical nature of it or something, that could be pretty impressive. I also put an SLR in here, in this weatherproof one, this Kodak, which I bought, which is an amazing camera actually. And then a couple of other cameras, including these things. I believe these are hunting action camera, long range. Oh, I thought this was, this is something that clicks onto the end of your optic. So whatever kind of optic you might want, you stick this thing on the back of it. I don't know if anybody's used that before. It's $700, but you should probably buy one for sure. Using my link right there. But that'd be kind of neat. And there's obviously different versions of that. There's things that can mount a phone behind an optic. And anyway, I think hunting or hunters have lots of camera options. Someone who is a hunter may or may not have some of these. So if you are looking for a gift out there. Gizzard celebrates 24 months of membership, 2 years. Oh, that's on the gun website side. Thanks for that. I think that's when you jumped off the Patreon. When you started hating Patreon, you jumped over to channel memberships. Let's see. Let's see. My FFL has a nice one, but never used it. Need to get that out soon. You mean a drone? We try to, I don't know what that is. Be nice. We try to be nice. The new models give you so much more performance for cheap. Are we talking drones? I guess I should have been paying more attention over here. That's what Gizzard said about the 24 months. And then Gear Report says I use my phone for most stuff. The Insta360 Ace Pro for backpacking because of its weatherproof and shockproof. I gotcha. The DSLR for product photography. Being able to optically zoom and blur the background is huge. So that is kind of useful for product photography or just taking a picture of like something and having, the outside be blurred behind it. You can do that with an iPhone. Can you do that with regular phones now? I think you can do that with a normal phone. You don't have to buy an iPhone anymore for that. But yeah, that is that's a effect of the lens on the fancy SLRs. But I think you can do it with software now. And then he said, Configure Report said, I got some rail mount gun cameras, would be good for hunting. So I think all of these, like I say, if you're a hunter, maybe think about adding some more cameras to your stuff just for your own fun. It's just neat to go back and remember trips, especially if you paid money for the trip or it's a fun trip because you brought a bunch of friends with or something. Then, I mean, we did most of our hunting before. We did it before digital cameras, and none of us were bringing cameras around back in the day. It wasn't a thing. You weren't going to drag a camera around and then develop it and then look at pictures. The grandparents did that. Nobody else did that. But then when cameras were on phones, or I should say when phones started having cameras in them and everybody was carrying a phone, and that didn't happen right away, right? Even when we were hunting back in the days, only a couple of us had phones. And those of us that had phones, a lot of us had them for work, so we didn't bring them hunting. We maybe brought a phone, but we didn't have that great of coverage, so it's not like we needed a phone for anything. And back in the old days, we weren't enabled, so we could handle anything. We grew up not having any phones to help us, so it's not like we needed phones as a tether to civilization. So we just never brought them. But then once we started all carrying phones and the phones started having cameras in them, that kind of went hand in hand, I suppose. We started taking pictures of everything, and now I don't know anybody that goes hunting that I know that doesn't send me pictures of stuff. So, just to, hey, look what we found, or hey, look at that bear walking by or whatever. Like you're going to see pictures of people's hunts because that's our norm now is to share pictures. So as a hunter, you may not be thinking, since you got your phone, you may not be thinking of something like a 360, which is way stronger, right? And you can zoom with 360s too. They have digital zoom, but just like our phones, like they can do some pretty impressive digital stuff. I would think the stabilization is probably there on the 360s too, perhaps, or on the action cameras. Like they do some stabilization. And then if you're thinking of this, or if you're listening this far into a show like this, thinking of gifts for people, Big ass SD cards is always nice. I mean, a lot of us have a ton of SD cards pouring out our butts, but that doesn't mean they're all big. We have a lot of 32s. We have a lot of smaller ones than that, maybe if you're old. And 32s are okay, but they're not as nice as a 128. You don't want to get too big. You get like a 1 terabyte SD card, and not everything can use it. But 128s are pretty good. You know, in 2024, getting a bunch of 128s for people. Maybe do they sell them in bulks? You probably get a bulk pack, get them cheap, and then hand those to people, and that's a pretty good gift. And it's something that people often forget to buy themselves, and they appreciate. I think it's one of those. It's kind of a practical gift, but one of those ones people don't think about. I'm just going to throw again out this. I got this camera, and it's awesome. I like Kodak cameras personally. I don't know if y'all have used very many of them, but I believe they have some of the best color, like some of the most vivid images coming right out of the camera. I really like them. And this one is a ruggedized weatherproof one, or whatever, waterproof one. So you can take pictures underwater, which is neat since my phone can't do that anymore. I used to have a waterproof phone, and I kind of got used to being able to just take pictures all the time. And now I got to think about, not taking my cameras out in the water anymore. All right, so that's the hunters. And then I also, did we already look at the content creation one? I don't know if we did. So I'm going to go to, wait. No, the first one I did was good camera, right? So now I'm going to try to find the content creation one. Go up here. Let's see. Your report saying add a big memory card, cell signal, and solar panel, and you don't have to manage it like we used to. So much easier. You're talking about the game camera? Yeah. Game trail cameras have gotten so much better in the past few years. Yeah, I don't know when it happened, but now that I'm doing the Amazon thing, I've been paying attention to them, and I probably own 7 game cameras now, because for very little money, you can get just an awesome camera. And like you say, they can, one thing is they can handle big SD cards, but most of the time you just Wi-Fi to them. So you just pull the images that you want. You just let the thing eat the SD card like a dash cam. So it'll just keep reusing the same memory card over and over. You never have to take it out or anything. You just pull the pictures off that you want before they get ate again. But they usually have like days and days to do that. And then you've got solar panels for them. So most of them either come with solar panels, have solar panels built into them, or you can just buy a solar panel. You just need a 5-volt solar panel. They're all over the place. And you can never have to worry about even plugging the thing in. All right, so I don't know how that happened. That's kind of weird. But I was going to look for the ideal list for my content creation one. Where do I have that? Oh, maybe we did already look at it. No, we didn't. I just jammed that camera in there. Do I even have that many cameras? I guess I have a couple. So first off is the ones we already talked about, the drone and an action camera. I'm not 100% sold on action cameras yet, but the reason I didn't like them in the old days is because you had to use a phone to see what's through them, and that was annoying to me. Now they have a screen in the front and in the back, so that's pretty awesome. They got their mounting thing built into them. That's pretty cool. And you can still run them from your phone, and that's amazing. So having a remote camera that you can run from your cell phone is the bee's knees, as the kids would say. So I could totally see this adding an element to your filming that you could have never done back in the day, and fairly inexpensively. Same thing with the drone. Drone can only fly for so long, so while as cool as they are, they're going to be limited to how many batteries you have and how much time you have to do it. But they can be pretty awesome, especially for establishing the scene or showing the situation in full. Then we get to the webcams. So that's something that I don't know, a lot of people either dismiss completely. They just think, oh, I got my webcam in my laptop frame or whatever, I'm done. And or maybe they're just using their phones backwards or something to stream from their phones. So you don't even think about a webcam. But I don't. I have a webcam. I don't like the one that's on my camera. I can never point down where I like to point down at the table. So I use a microphone arm, I guess, like a robot arm that comes over and holds the microphone over here. And I just have my webcam attached to that. And that puts it up in the air, pointed down at the table, which allows you to do over the head type of videos and stuff. So webcams can be pretty effective for lots of indoor filming. That's, maybe permanent to a desk. The other thing that could be useful for is watching like a 3D printer or some other kind of machine that's going to be doing a process. Action cams can do that. I haven't played with that yet. I know people, I know they can do that. I don't know. So I'm assuming people do that. But webcams, you can still just take a video and then compress it or smush it down. What else do we got? Then the other kind of camera are these little tiny cameras, and these aren't very expensive. I don't know how many people use these, but they're just little wafers, discs, little bumps. They're nothing. This is actually, they don't have anything for scale here, but these are like a size of a stack of quarters. They're like a gumdrop or something. So these could be put into things. These could be put onto things. They have a magnetic back, so you can just stick them onto metal things. This base unit that it comes with is magnetic. So just handy little, I guess spy cameras, but handy little button cameras. You can get them in phones. You can get them in cell phone chargers and stuff. And those can be, I think, useful, again, for just getting some B-roll and just knowing what's going on. Maybe to set up a scene or something, like know when something's coming around the corner without having to have a third person there. You can just have a camera pointed down the way and use that. And then I think last would be your home security cameras. And I think those things can be pretty neat too for, again, maybe watching a cat drink or doing things where you're not going to want to wait around. You're not going to want to necessarily, you could probably do it with a game camera. But if you're not going to want to wait around for your dog to come in and eat out of a bowl or something, you just put a security or like a nanny cam down on the ground next to the bowl. And, sometime during the day, the dog's going to come eat and you'll get that video made. So that's about all I can think of out of this one. There's some other things in here and some microphones and other things. Let's see. Add a big memory card and we already talked about that one. DJ's out there, welcome. 43 months of membership, thank you. Says my phone is randomly typing things while in my pocket. Oh. What did he randomly type? Oh, we try to be nice. It's weird how you're saying we try to be nice all the time, and your phone is just randomly saying that. Let's see, DJ's throwing some links down. Thank you for that. All right, well, we've been going for about 40 minutes, and we dug into the 3 sections of the Amazon stores that I linked to in the description, using them since it's a store as a way to kind of browse or shop around at cameras. There's definitely other kinds of cameras out there, but I'm not sure what other people, what somebody listening to this show might be interested in. I guess we could talk about dash cams, having a camera pointed at the front windshield of your vehicle. We got a couple of them on sale in our vehicle section here. I tried to shove everything that's on sale to the top of our ideal list so you can see them right away. This one is the one I've been using most recently. It's super popular. People love it. I'm not sure why. It's huge. I guess that's why. I don't like having a screen on my dashboard, and this one has a screen on it. So for me, I'd like this one more if it was just the bar. I don't mind having all the cameras like that. That's cool. But the screen is what bothers me because it's just too much stuff in my dashboard. I have a van, so I don't use my review mirror anyway. So I'm not used to looking up at the review mirror so much anymore. And this makes me keep looking at it all the time. It's also very small. So if you look at some of the pictures here, that screen isn't really big, but even though it's small, it can do a 4. It'll look out at each camera at the same time, which is what I try to do. And it's just too much to look at in front of me. Now, if I had it projecting to a larger screen, like a tablet, that'd be okay. I don't think it could do that. But it is a pretty neat one for about $100, a little over, maybe It's $189 normally, so it's usually a $200 camera. It'll point forward. It has these two sides, right? So you can take these things and spin them around so that they're looking at the driver and the passenger. Or what I do is I have this one looking out the front. This one points out to the left and this one points out to the right, which are kind of like looking left and right out of the left and right windows, but they don't look, they're not 180. I guess I could try pointing this one out the passenger window, but what I do is I just point it out like over the headlights so that they're kind of pointing out like nods in three different directions, giving me, slightly bigger than 180-degree view out the front. But then there's three different cameras, so chances are each of the three cameras is going to see something, but two of them are definitely going to overlap and see quite a bit of stuff. At least that's how I run it. But then there's a wire that takes this little guy out the back window, and that's the coolest thing ever because I've never seen out the back of the van. It's just all closed in. So being able to see back there is like a backup camera. But then watching a rear-facing dash cam is cool because everything's zooming away from you. So it's just another neat way. It's like sitting in the back of an old station wagon looking backwards. Kind of a cool point of view or whatever perspective on the journey, and it can be interesting for content because it's like you're leaving a place and seeing it kind of disappear onto the horizon or whatever. Anyway, it's also nice because then you can see what's happening behind you. On a big vehicle like mine or an RV or something, and there is plenty of cord. It went all the way from the back of my extended van, so it's enough to do probably a small RV with just the included wires. But anyhow, it is neat to be able to see out the back like a rear view camera. So that's the one that I've been using, and then the one I used before that was much more like this one. I don't think it was this one because I don't make mine anymore. But this one was much smaller. It's very sleek, and it's just this little thing about the size of a thing of chapstick that glues to your window. You put an SD card in it, and then it runs a phone app. So if you want to pull something off of it, you can just zap to it with your Wi-Fi's off your phones and pull whatever you want off of it. Or you could always pull the card. But this is a much more sleek design, and it's just got the one camera pointing out the front. It has something like, what does it say, 170-degree view, so it's seeing pretty much everything out the front. And I just like this because there's much less in my way, and I don't want the screen. So this is what I had before, and I liked it. But I think the other thing is there's a remote button that mine had. I don't know if this one does. And that remote button lets you take a snap video whenever you want. Normally, a dash cam is just going to record everything and then also record accidents or hard braking or things like that, hitting a big bump. And the best ones have another button that let's say something's walking across the road, like a bird or something is flying low or a deer is walking across the street. You can make the thing record intentionally, and mine would put that in a separate folder, so it's super easy to find. All right, so that's the dash cams, and there are other things you can do with cameras in a vehicle, placing them like on the bumpers or like what Riding Shotgun with Charlie does, having cameras inside, like mounted to do like an interview type of thing. And, when you're driving, a lot of people don't think about, that time on the road is you're going to be using that time anyway. You might as well film if you can. So with some cameras and some microphones, you can probably get some pretty decent coverage in a vehicle. Let's see. DJ said, just had a U-Haul with the backward-facing camera. It appears in the review mirror, and it was really weird at first. Oh, I've seen that, but only in like shows and stuff. I've never actually driven one like that. That would be kind of interesting. So you just look in the review mirror like you normally would, but because there's a big, vehicle there, you're not seeing anything. But then the camera or the screen comes on, and you do see that. That would be pretty cool. Now, if I could get, like I say, if I get like a tablet mounted to the ceiling of the van or something, and then have a rear view camera, I'd be down with that. I don't have a problem seeing out the back. I just don't like having a screen on my dashboard because it's in addition to my rear view mirror that I don't use. So it would be better use of space on the windscreen. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap it up. We're getting close to the 45-minute mark. I'll type in camera one more time. I don't think I missed anything other than like maybe underwater cameras. I've had a couple of different versions of those over the years. Talked about the nanny cams. I've definitely had a bunch of those. There are camera detectors. It's worth mentioning. So if you are traveling and you're going to be in hotel rooms or in places like B&Bs, whatever they're called, then rentals, then running around with a camera detector. They make them that will detect the lens. They'll make them that can detect the Wi-Fi signal, and then I think there might be other ways to detect them. This one uses like a filter to like shine light, and then you can see the reflection a little easier through the little screen. And then it's listening for Wi-Fi signals, because most of the people that are spying on you are going to have a camera with some sort of a feed that's wireless. Now, that's not going to help you when there's a camera with a cord coming from it, but it's something to think about. We already talked a little bit about the SD cards. There's other things like just simple things like lanyards and pouches and cases that people can overlook sometimes. We don't have film anymore, but you would if you had the instant camera. Also, these are the disposable cameras. Recyclables, they still make those. So you buy them, they're about the size of an old camera, right? And you open the pack, you get, I think there's 14 pictures in there, 27 pictures in there. You take it to a place, they will bust it open and recycle that camera. They'll use that camera over and over again. And then they'll just take the film out, develop it, and give you your pictures. So it's a pretty neat way to kind of have some vintage stuff happening. And also just a way, because those have very long-term storage. You put one of these in each vehicle, as long as it doesn't get frozen or boiled, it'll be there available for emergencies. So if there's ever any kind of an accident or anything, in addition to any digital cameras that you might have or may not have because the batteries or whatever issues, you have your real cameras there. So this might be an interesting gift idea if you're looking for it. This is a little floaty thing. There's all kinds of versions of this, things that you hang off of your camera, and they're usually bright colored. And that way, if you're swimming or in a lake or anywhere near water that the camera might get lost or let go of or something, then it'll float and be visible so that you can find the thing hopefully again. Tripods, I think I would call tripods a little intimate. I don't think I would buy a tripod for someone unless it was just the most interesting, clever tripod you ever seen, or somebody just wouldn't shut up about how great this tripod is. But tripods, people have their own ways of using their cameras, so I wouldn't assume some tripod is going to work for everybody. Same with the mounting stuff. There's just so much mounting stuff for these action cameras that I don't think I would recommend buying that stuff for somebody unless they gave you like an actual list, because you could buy the wrong kind or the wrong brand or something. Like I could just see too much error there. I'm probably going to do a whole nother show on the bird camera or the bird feeder cameras. I have 7 of them now, and I'm going to keep buying them because I really, really like them. And wait a minute. Dang it. Did I just discover that I have 8 and I forgot about this one? I don't think this one's outside.
This bird feeder
So I have 8 bird feeder cameras, and I will probably do a whole video on those. I've got a bunch of bird feeder pictures, cameras, or videos that I haven't posted just because there's other things going on. But the bird feeder cameras are so
How cool
fun.
is this? I'm able to record the hummingbird at the hummingbird feeder and then share it to my socials because of my Solium hummingbird feeder with the AI. So
they're also neat because most of the smart ones you have to pay for the service, but they can AI identify what birds you're looking at. That's kind of neat, especially if you live like in Tucson. We live in a migration route. That's one of the reasons I went. I've been looking forward to these things. And as you see, they're $100 now. They used to be like 300, so they're coming down in prices. I've got 8 of them of probably 4 or 5 different companies. Forgot about this brass one. I have to go figure out where that one is because I don't have that outside. But once I'll do a show on them because they're pretty much all the same. The big difference in the bird feeder cameras is the software, 100% the software. And it kind of has to go with price. The more expensive ones have the better software. And I think what it is just some of the companies made these kind of nanny cams and said, oh, I can cram it into a bird feeder. But they still have their old crude nanny cam software. And it's just not as nice as some of the fancy bird feeders. Let's see. Besides that, I think we might have exhausted all of the cameras that we've got over here. As I just scroll through my general word camera in there. How long do you think before they add a camera to our radios? You'd think cameras are not that big. They could add a crude camera to a radio, and then how hard would it be to digitally transmit that data? Same neat thing for Magellan to stick on their radios. Yeah, I'm not finding anything new. Let's see. Nobody else saying anything, so we will wrap it up. It doesn't tell me. Does it even tell me? Oh, it's underneath of this thing. We had 50 people listening right now, so thanks to everybody for joining us. Feel free to be part of the show. Interactive is always better than a speech or some kind of lecture. And the goal here is just to go live on Tuesdays and talk about tech and give me some ideas for next week. If nobody gives me any ideas, then I'll come up with something that maybe I'm shopping for. Maybe that'll be drones. But we just did cameras, so maybe it'll be something different. With that, thanks everybody for joining, and have a great week. Oh yeah, it's Thanksgiving, so have a great holiday. Getting used to how this thing works. Was I even on here the whole time? Is this working? Right on stream. Show on stream. I hope this thing was working this whole time. Maybe it's just sitting there in silence the whole time.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.